Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. Female backing singing groups are not new to the music industry, from the likes of Ray Charles' Raylettes, the amazing ladies that formed part of Stevie Wonder's Wonderlove Band, and Lucky Dube's Mothers of Soweto. But almost no other unit can boast of the talent, impact, and pedigree that the I3s brought to the table. This magnificent, beautiful, and elegant trio are probably the best known backup singing group of all time. They're definitely the most influential female Jamaican singing group in history. The I3s were 1/3 of the tripod of pillars that made Bob Marley and the Wailers the greatest reggae act in the history of the genre. The three pillars were Bob Marley, the Wailers backing band, and the sublime I3s. The three ladies played a critical role in relaunching Bob Marley and the Wailers when it seemed like the world's hottest reggae band, formed in Trenchtown in the early 1960s, was about to grind to a sad halt. The Wailers, which was made up of Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh, fell apart in 1973 after the release of their Burning album, their second album under Island Records. Bunny and Peter left the band, leaving Bob as the last man standing with the responsibility of charting a new course in the absence of his former bandmates and backup vocalists. It was the I3s that filled that void and brought a new side to the music by sweetening the previously more gritty sound of the Wailers and emphasizing the messages in a sweet angelic harmony that gave you goosebumps every time. But who were they? Let's start with the de facto leader and founding member. Rita Marley was born Alpha Rita Anderson on July 25, 1946 in Cuba. After her parents separated while she was still a very young child, she was adopted by her auntie who lived in Trenchtown in Kingston, Jamaica. From a tender age, she had aspired to become a nurse, but displayed a love for music and loved to entertain her father every time she got the chance. It became clear where her talents were taking her when she won first prize on a radio talent contest for kids. In 1964, and at the age of 18, she became one of the vocalists at Studio One, the same studio and label that had catapulted the Wailers to stardom. Coxsone Dodd, the owner of Studio One, had paired her in duets with Bunny Wailer that were released as Bunny and Rita, as well as duets with Peter Tosh. But her main role in the studio was as lead singer of a group called the Soulettes. She started a relationship with Bob, and the couple got married 2 years later in 1966. But she began to work with the Wailers in 1968 as a backup vocalist after the return of Bob Marley from the US, where he had gone to hustle for some money to help relaunch the Wailers after their exit from Studio One. With the breakup of the Wailers 5 years later, she was promoted by her husband and given the task of putting a backup singing team together. Marcia Lynette Griffiths was born in Kingston on November 23, 1949. She also showed lots of interest in music early on. She started singing in the church choir and took part in musical presentations at school. She was first noticed at the age of 15 while singing at a friend's birthday party. Philip Bosie James, a singer and member of the popular group The Blues Busters, who was visiting a girlfriend right next door and heard Marcia's voice. He was so impressed that he arranged for her to take part in an upcoming talent contest, which she took part in and won. She was so impressive that she was invited to perform on a television variety show the same night. And after delivering a world-class performance, she was employed as a singer with Baron Lee and the Dragonaires, which was one of the biggest groups in Jamaica at the time. She would also get a record deal with Studio One. After a number of failed singles, she scored a big hit in 1967 with the song Melody Life, as well as a huge single titled Feel Like Jumping, which charted in Jamaica as well as in Great Britain. She moved from Studio One to work with producer Bob Andy and formed a singing duo with him. And they scored a big international hit with the 1970 song Young, Gifted and Black. She and Bob Andy released another album in 1971 before they parted ways in 1974, just as Rita was putting the I3s together. Judy Mowat, the youngest of the trio, was born in Kingston in 1952. And just like Rita and Marcia, she also displayed musical talent as a child and sang in her church choir. By the time she got into her teens, she joined a dance group that toured the various Caribbean countries. This dance group also had members who could sing as well as dance. Judy hooked up with two of the girls called Beryl Lawson and Merle Clemenson, and they formed a vocal trio called the Gaylettes. The group scored a big hit in Jamaica in 1968 with a song called Silent River. The Gaylet's ride didn't last too long and they were disbanded in 1970. She went on to a solo career and got her second hit in 1974 with a reggae cover version of South African legend Mariam Makeba's I Shall Sing. Rita Marley had often worked with Judy Mowat and knew her well. Also, Marcia Griffiths had once invited Judy and Rita to harmonize with her on a recording for her then producer Bob Marley. The trio had struck up good chemistry, so when it was time for Rita to recruit singers to harmonize with her in the I3s, Griffiths and Mowat were the natural choice and were called upon. In a semi-audition, Bob Marley asked the three ladies to sing on his recording, Jah Live. They totally killed it, and from that moment, the I3s was born. They got the name as a spin on the Rastafarian concept of I and I, and they were now a united three I's, or rather, I3s. They made their debut in 1974 on the Natty Dread album, and they totally kicked ass. Pardon my French. Their luscious and sweet but powerful harmonies became the perfect foil for Bob Marley's crackling, fervent vocals. Their sweetening effect was heavily felt on title tracks like Talking Blues and Lively Up Yourself. Not to even mention what these three beautiful women brought to the table in terms of stagecraft in live performances. Their tight choreography and dazzling outfits made them a visual delight that crowned their flawless vocals. Their joining the Marley machine was one of the factors that shot the band's ascension to global reggae megastardom. In as much as the trio added value to the new band, it was also a huge career boost for them. The music industry in Jamaica had always been unstable and unpredictable. Artists that scored huge hits locally were not guaranteed their royalties and could still be broke despite having number one singles in the charts. But being part of a world-famous band signed to an international record label like Island Records, they were guaranteed a decent, steady income that only got better as the band's fortunes went from strength to strength. Another positive for the I3s was that Bob Marley never tried to stifle their solo ambitions or fame. Marcia Griffiths' emerging solo success before the I3s continued as she kept working with her producer Sonia Pottinger. Judy Mowat also recorded an album titled Mellow Mood under the Top Gun label. The I3s even sang backup on Peter Tosh's debut album Legalize It, as well as on albums for Big Youth, Bob Andy, and many others. The ladies were on a blistering 7-year run with Bob Marley and the Wailers, which sadly ended when Bob passed on in 1981. But that wasn't the end of the trio, mind you. The ladies all worked on solo material, like Rita's impressive Harambe album, and Marcia Griffiths scored plenty of successful projects and scored a massive hit in 1983 with the song Electric Slide, which was written and produced by Bunny Wailer. Judy Mowat also released great projects like 1982's Only a Woman. They reunited for their first I3's album called Beginning in 1986 and was followed by releases in 1991, 1995 and 1996. New generations of fans got a taste of their power and charm when they came together to perform at the now legendary Bob Marley All-Star Tribute Concert in December of 1999. The wonderful I3s, with their awesome talents, beauty and charm, helped propel Bob Marley and the Wailers to immortality and have more than earned their place in the stratosphere of legends in reggae music and world music as a whole. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.